Hello, welcome. I see some attendees jumping in. Hello. We're going to give it just a couple of minutes while everybody jumps in. Just a reminder that we're going to be doing a presentation today, but you can use the Q&A function below to ask questions that we'll answer as we go. But while we're waiting, I want to know, Austin, Ricky, are you guys getting outside at all? Is there anything that you guys are doing while it's nice and sunny?
Yeah, lately I've been going on a lot of walks around my house and looking for different types of flowers. There's a really fun app if you have an Android or any kind of phone really, called Google Lens, that you can take a picture of the flower and it tells you what it is. So I'm never gonna plant any probably, but they're fun to look at.
Yeah, I've been mostly staying home. I've only gotten out to like get groceries with my mom from out the car, or just go on like jogs and stuff. And I use like this zombie app, which is like kind of like pretends that you're in a zombie apocalypse and zombies are chasing you, so like you're motivated to run. And, like that's
your motivation to run.
Yeah.
I think that would terrify me more than it would motivate me, but I like that. I was joking at another meeting earlier today that my husband drives a convertible and we went out for a drive to pick up pizza and then came right back home and ate said pizza. So we're both like, we really need to get outside more, but we're quarantining. We're staying inside. Well, that's awesome. Well, we're going to give it maybe just a second more to see if any more attendees join before we start with our intros. Again, if you're just joining us, remember to use the Q&A function below. So right below, we have an admission counselor behind the scenes helping to answer questions and to push your questions forward too, which is great. But we're going to head and we'll just get started. So I'm going to introduce myself first. My name is Cassandra Capriva. I'm a Senior Assistant Director of Admission and Campus Visit Coordinator here at PLU. I work with a lot of local territories. So a lot of my students look at Running Start and what is Running Start like? What is that transition to PLU? So hopefully we'll answer some of those questions today, but I'm here to help answer questions from the admission side. Austin, you want to go next?
Yeah, hey folks, my name is Austin Byerman. I am a student success advisor, and that's kind of like an academic advisor plus some extra care for my students that I get to give them. I've been at PLU for about 2 years now, and before that, I was a student at PLU for 4 years. So good to see y'all. I guess I can't see you, but glad to talk to you.
Hey everyone, I'm Ricky. I was a Running Start student. I attended Highline Community College in Des Moines, Washington. I've been at PLU I'm about to finish my first year here. I'm in the Bachelor's of Nursing program here. I got my Associates in Nursing at Highline. And I'm just here to kind of share my experience with you guys of how it's like to kind of transfer over to PLU, the transition process and all that.
Nice. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. We do have a little bit of a presentation for you, so you should see that right about now. So again, as we talk about transitioning to PLU, Austin and I are actually going to go back and forth a little bit, and then we'll give it to Ricky to answer some of those general questions that y'all might have. Again, talk about his experience, and then we'll do some Q&A. So kind of jumping right in with how do you, if I stop working, what exactly is my class status, right? So just a reminder, as you all should know this, is when you're applying to PLU, even with a Running Start, at any amount of Running Start, you're going to be considered a first-year student. So you go through the first-year admission process. We know many of you have done, and then we go through a process of bringing up those credits. So if you bring in that full AA DTA, you're a junior status. You know that kind of right off the bat. I like to say we accept those credits like a nice present, like a gift. Like we just take it as it is and we move forward. If you're coming in with just your full AA, it's really likely that you're going to be coming in as a junior as well. But we're going to start to look at those credits a little more individually, and Austin's going to talk about that too in a little more detail as we go on. And then if you're doing program specific programs like a nursing track or business track, that is great. It might get you ahead in some of your degree programs. But again, we're going to talk about that a little further on, but we recognize that that might have been your path as well. And then what if just some credits? What if you just started Running Start this year? Or what if you did it as a senior? or a junior? What does it look like for that? And so again, we're going to touch upon that, but depending on how many credits you may have taken, we're going to look at those classes individually. We're going to say, what does this come up as? What might it cover at PLU? And then determine your academic status from there so that you kind of have a general idea of what that looks like. So how do you bring your credits to PLU? What does that process look like, right? We know we're in an environment now where maybe a lot of your classes are online, where you weren't prepared for that, and maybe you don't know what resources to utilize. So when you're bringing those credits to PLU, you're going to want to bring them officially from your high school and from the community college that you're taking credits at. You can go through the registrar's office at your local community college and your registrar at your high school, both of which should be able to help get those transcripts to PLU and are really familiar with what that process looks like. So again, you want to send official ones from both your community college and from your high school. And on that community college transcript, it's going to want to note that if you've finished your AA, that it's been completed. That will be a note on that transcript as well, which is why it's really important to send it in after your spring quarter is finished. So after you've finished that degree. We get a question a lot, what if I'm really close to finishing my AA? Like I'm 1 or 2 classes away, is it worth it? And that can be kind of up to you. If you have a chance to finish them over the summer and perhaps that's what gets you to that full AA, go for it if you're ready to kind of give up your summer. But if you're debating between maybe doing 1 more year at Running Start or jumping just straight into the community college and then transferring to a university down the line, or if you're just going to stop with your community college and just jump straight into PLU, that's a conversation you should really have with your admission counselor one-on-one. Ask them, what is the benefit financially? What might it look like academically? And you can kind of decide from there what that pathway looks like. So you have a lot of options ahead of you. So how can I find out more about my academic track and how long I'll be at PLU? I think this is one of the most common questions. So I'm actually going to give it to Austin for this next one.
Yeah, so that's pretty much a lot of what we talk about in the Center for Student Success and in academic advising. For every student, it's a little bit different, depending on what classes you took when you were in community college and what classes and routes you choose to take at PLU, and we'll talk a little bit about those. I just put in some examples that show some of the things that matter. These are some of the more common degrees, and if you are not one of these 4 degrees, folks in our office, the Center for Student Success, are way willing to talk to you about it. And when we do registration appointments in the summer, we will work with you to figure out what's your timeline that both works for you financially and just in terms of academically. So for criminal justice or sociology, if you have Sociology 101 completed, this major can be completed in 2 years because there's not a lot of sequencing in the major. If you're biology or pretty much any of the pre-med tracks, if you completed the introductory biology and introductory chemistry sequences, so the full year at your community college, you could complete this in 3 years. It's not the biology major that is what takes most of the time. It's the pre-med requirements, because you can have your biology degree and not have all the pre-med requirements, and then it becomes really hard to apply to med school. For psychology, we have a lot of students who want to study this. The biggest thing you need is just Psych 101. And typically you're able to graduate with a Bachelor's of Arts in 2 years or a Bachelor's of Science if you've completed biology or some pre-calculus. And business, if you've done introductory business class or classes, so like accounting or intro to business, stats, and either economics or calculus, typically you can graduate in 2 years. So the biggest things to look at are what have you taken for your major and what are the other things you want to do when you graduate, right? If you want to go to med school or grad school, making sure those timelines work out.
So as we kind of look at what your pathway is going to see, if you go to PLU's website as a transfer student, or even if you're doing Running Start, right, you can see at the top there's these 2-year colleges to PLU. You'll see a lot of different resources from various community colleges here in Washington on common pathways. So for example, if we select Green River, it goes to a Green River specific page where you can then see some really popular comp majors. If we select business, for example, it pops into what does it look like when you have your AA, DTA from Green River. What are some credits you should be taking ahead of time, or not credits, classes? And what might your academic plan look like at PLU? So you have all of these resources online as well, which can be really helpful as you start to do the preparation process.
Mhm. So what do your credits do for you? Is a common question. Like, I've taken all these classes at my community college. How do they come in? Before we were talking about major, now I'm talking about our general education program. If you have your full AA DTA, all of your gen ed courses besides 2 will be considered complete. And you'll take those sometime in your first year, typically at PLU. If you don't have a full DTA, each class you took at your community college will be reviewed individually, and those credits will be applied to the appropriate gen ed courses. So a lot of Running Start students take English 101, and it has the and, it can be from any Washington State community college. And that will come in as a writing 100 level class that meets our writing requirement. So it's a direct translation. And then same thing for Math 146. It'll transfer to PLU as Stats 231, which counts as the math requirement. So we'll look at each class individually and figure out where it fits. Mm-hmm. And another common question our office gets, and I'm sure the admission counselors get, are how does academic advising work? At a lot of community colleges, there's no assignments or a lot of different things going on. Here at PLU, in your first semester, most students get paired with a Center for Student Success advisor that's decided on based on your major. So I have chemistry, engineering, physics, math, sociology, and those students I get to care for in their first year. Then after you declare your major, you're assigned a faculty advisor based on that major that aligns with your interests. So you'll meet with the Center for Student Success in your first semester at minimum, and then you have us as an option for the rest of your time at PLU. But then you also get a faculty advisor who will work with you on a lot of career-oriented things. What are the right things to study if you want to go on to professional schools afterwards? But the biggest question that we get from first-year students often is, what if I want to study away, particularly Running Start students, because you have a shorter timeline typically. So it depends. So we offer January term study away that are open to any student in any major. And we've had Running Start students do spring semester or fall semester study aways. It's just a matter of working closely with us and advising to make sure we can fit that in. One huge benefit you all have is that you have most of your gen eds done already. So you have a little more wiggle room in your time at PLU.
Yeah.
And the next question is probably on all of your minds is, okay, so I know what it means to be a Running Start student pretty much. How do I register at PLU? So 2 things to be on the lookout for. On April 24th at 2 p.m., you got to come see me again and folks from our office who talk about that incoming advising experience a little more in depth. And be on the lookout for your new Loot guide that should be coming in the mail or online that tells you some more next steps on registration.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We're going to go back, and I'd really actually like, thank you, Austin, first. But Ricky, you're the student here. Can you share a little bit about your experience? What was it like to do Running Start? You know, how did that process work for you?
Yeah, so hey, how's it going, everyone? Once again, my name is Ricky. So I just graduated high school and community college last June. So I'm technically a freshman. However, because of my Running Start credits, I'm actually a sophomore standing in the Bachelor's of Nursing program here at PLU. It was a bit confusing coming into PLU because of how I was both a freshman and a sophomore at the same time. Or in the case of like other majors, and you might be a junior, but the nursing program's 3 years, so I'm a sophomore. I think there were only a handful of students who were coming into PLU as freshmen while already holding an associate's degree. But the admission counselors were really helpful. Mine was Julian Franco, and he was more than happy to walk me through every step of the way. I felt really welcomed by every person that kind of helped me throughout the transfer process, and the feeling of being welcomed was one of the main reasons why I chose PLU in the first place. Some of my own concerns during this time were, one, if my credits were going to be transferred to PLU, if PLU would be the same kind of work as when I was in Running Start. And secretly, I was kind of worried if the counselors would even know what to do with the student that was a freshman and sophomore standing, because some of the emails and instructions that were being sent out to newly admitted students just weren't applicable to me. They were more directed towards people who had no prior degree. However, I assure you that the counselors definitely know what they're doing, and the people at PLU are ready to help Running Start students succeed in every possible way. Just make sure to stay up to date and in contact with your counselor or your advisor or just whoever is helping you at that time. Now, in case anyone else here also has the same concerns as I did, I could share my experience with those with you guys. So in regards to transferring credits, it was pretty easy. I did have some problems with all my credits being transferred, simply because I requested for my transcript to be sent before I graduated my community college. So basically, PLU basically had no record of me receiving an associate's degree at all. So if you requested a transcript before graduation, you may need to send it again, or you need to just make sure that it has all your credits and your degree on it when it's sent. If it's not caught before it's too late, it may even affect your class registration dates, which is what happened to me. But everything worked out. And then my second major concern during the time was if Running Start had truly kind of prepared me for a university experience like PLU. And to answer that, honestly, it did, but it's obviously not going to be as easy. I think Running Start is great at giving you the skills and tricks that you need to succeed prior to actual attendance at universities. Running Start is where you truly get to know yourself. And by know yourself, I mean, you know how your mind works, you know how you study best, you know how you work best, etc. So everyone studies differently. Some like to listen to music, some can't stand it, some like to chew gum while studying, some can't bear hearing a single whisper while studying. So Running Start is kind of where you will figure all that out before PLU. So kind of take advantage of it. Don't be afraid to experiment with your study methods and learn more about yourself so you could be even more prepared by the time school starts at PLU.
Yeah, that's great advice. And your level thing reminded me, if you don't know this, our library has 3 levels. So on the first level, you actually find Austin and the Center for Student Success, but it's kind of like a noisier level. There's study space, there's whiteboards everywhere, and it gets progressively quieter. Like the 3rd floor is like a do not talk zone. So you can certainly find that space. That's a great point, Ricky. Our second question for actually you, Ricky, is what kind of scholarships are you eligible for as a Running Start student? Is anything like program specific or anything different as coming in as a regular student?
I'm not sure. I didn't receive many scholarships that were exclusively for Running Start students. I did receive one that's very helpful. I think it was the 253 scholarship. If you come into PLU with above 3.0 or 3.3 GPA, you get every single cent of your tuition paid. You just got to pay for, I don't know, like your program or your books, something like that. Actually, I think they pay for your books now too.
Yeah, it's the college bound. It's the 253 college bound.
Yeah.
So you had college bound and you had above a 3.3. So you got that scholarship.
Yeah. So I think if you get that scholarship, you're like almost set. You're basically set. So
I love it. Another question that we got is, what if I have to take classes in the summer to complete my AA before starting at PLU? Does that impact me at all? Am I still first year? What does that mean maybe for my academic plan? Austin, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so really, really good question. So if you have to take classes over the summer to finish your DTA, a big part of that will be communicating with either your admission counselor or the Center for Student Success after you request your appointment. Because once you're registered for those classes and you say you're on track to complete your direct transfer agreement, we believe you. So when it comes to registering you, we'll plan for you completing your DTA and still get you registered like normal.
Nice, I like that. Another question we had is, do Running Start students have trouble getting into upper division classes?
Yeah, for me again?
Yeah. Oh, both of you. I think both of you. Yeah, sorry. I should have really said who should take that. I think both of you should take it.
Super, super good question. Do Running Start students have trouble getting into upper division classes? Typically, no. So being a Running Start student, the way we do registration after the first time is based on your number of credits. So if you're a Running Start student and you bring in 64 credits to PLU, you're ahead of everybody who has 63 and fewer credits. So you have a leg up for the most part throughout your time when it comes to registering. And it's super helpful. So the students I'm working with now, the ones who even have a couple of running start credits are registering before those who came in with no credits. So puts you in a really good spot for registration.
Nice.
Yeah, so for me, I had a lot of friends who didn't do running start. So I had more credits than them. So I registered, I think, 1 or 2 weeks before them. So you definitely, it's easier for you to register into like the classes that you want. However, because like if you enter a program where everyone else also has a degree, such as nursing program or bachelor's for business, something like that, everyone basically has the same amount of credits as you. So for me, in the nursing program, I was one of the last ones to register because simply just everyone else there probably had more credits than me or something like that. So they could have registered 1 or 2 weeks before me. So it kind of just depends on if you're in an accepted program or if you're kind of registering for other gen ed classes, um, if you can get in as easy as you can.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think just even from the admission side, you hear a lot about classes being compounded, like I think that's the right word, but compounded classes where there's too many people, so they can't let people into that class. And that's not usually a problem we have at PLU. If it's a class you really need, your academic advisor is going to be there to support you to make sure you get that class and you get that credit. So not usually an issue that we have, but that was a good one. Another question we have, and Austin, I think I'm going to push this to you, is do you have to take the math placement test if you are a running start student?
Yes, super good question. For this year, we're having every student take the math placement evaluation just to be sure. And if you place higher than the highest math class you've taken, that's good. You have the option to go higher, or you can just opt to go with the highest math class you've taken. Because some running start students take like Math 146, which is stats, which doesn't directly translate into the different path they want to go. It's not in the pre-calc line or the calculus line. Just for ease of access and to make sure every student can get registered in a timely fashion, we have students, everyone take it.
Yeah, yeah. The next question that we have is if I decide to complete my DTA in the fall after high school, do I apply as a transfer student or as a first year? And I'm actually going to take that one. You apply as a transfer student. You will be officially counted as a community college student that fall. And so after that, you are a full-on transfer student. So you'll go through a different application process and you'll go through a different scholarship review process. But because you're transferring in potentially with less credits, you might still need to send in a high school transcript. So just pay attention to where you're at credit-wise in that process, and admission counselor can help you specifically answer that question too. But yeah, great question.
Can I ask a follow-up on that? So just to reiterate and be clear, if they take classes over the summer, they stay a first year.
Yes.
If they go in the fall, they are transfer.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great clarifying question. All right, Robin is wondering if running start students have to live on campus their first year. No, yeah, I guess the short, I see Ricky like nodding his head. So first year students are typically required to live on campus for 2 years, unless you have junior status as a student, or you're above 21 or within 25 miles of campus. So there are definitely some, but when you're coming in with your full AA, especially full AA, you can definitely have the choice to commute. But on the flip side of that, you also can choose to live on campus if you want to. I am a huge fan of living on campus. It was one of the best experiences from my undergrad experience, just the community that you build on. But what's kind of nice is instead of having that 2-year requirement, you just have one, you could just try it for one, right? You can just see what it's like and then look at moving off campus. But yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that one. All right, we have another one for Ricky. What was the advantage that you had as a running start student?
So like I said before, Running Start kind of prepares you for university by teaching you the skills that you need and the tips that you need for yourself to succeed. So when I entered PLU, I already knew how I work best, how I like to study, how I study best in my mind, just like through repetition and through applying it through like real concepts. So Running Start kind of just gave me just like the skills I needed to succeed, while some others may need more experience with that, but they have to gain that experience through PLU itself, and through college classes itself. Because when you come straight out of high school, you may not kind of experience the same kind of workload or just the same kind of pattern or style of classes as you would in college. And Running Start really prepared me for that. So I wasn't as deeply impacted, or I didn't have to just adapt as much as some other students had to.
Yeah. I'm going to ask one more question and then we're going to wrap up. All right. So for both Austin and Ricky, what is one piece of advice you'd give to a Running Start student if they could take one thing that maybe we haven't talked about, or one thing you really want to emphasize again? What is one piece of advice you'd give them as they transition from Running Start to PLU?
You can go first.
Okay, cool. I just didn't want to jump over you. So my biggest piece of advice, and I give this to you all, my younger sister is a senior graduating with Running Start. So I've given this advice to her. So I'm giving you family advice. While it's important to like position yourself to be ready to graduate as soon as possible, also be open to the experience of like spending a little more time, maybe spending an extra semester to study away. These next couple of years, or it's kind of like an incubation chamber. It's a time to grow. And you get 4 years of financial aid typically. So use all of that you can get, because once you graduate and you are working, it becomes really tough to spend 4 months in Italy or Rome or Greece or China.
I second that. I'm going to interrupt you to second that. Yeah.
So I think work with your advisor in your first year to position yourself to be able to graduate. And then also be open-minded to thinking, what could I do with an extra semester or an extra year? And we're there to help you with that. So yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. On top of just using Running Start to know yourself and just prepare yourself for actual university, I would also say, don't be too nervous. Don't be too worried. I was really nervous when I came in, but trust me, you're probably more prepared than you think you are. And even though you got into university, it's not, don't let it just catch you off guard. Don't let your guard down. Keep working hard. Give it everything you got, every class you got, every assignment. And in the end, it'll pay off. So just keep working hard and don't let your guard down.
I like that.
Awesome.
Well, thank you both so much for your time today, for Ricky sharing your insights, and for Austin sharing what it looks like as the advising. For everyone tuning in, don't forget, events continue through next week. We'll see you Thursday at 10 a.m. for a School of Arts and Communication panel. We're going to have some faculty. We're going to talk about School of Arts, and we have a lot more next week, including the Friday one that Austin mentioned earlier about academic advising and how to best prepare for that. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy the sunny weekend and have a great day. Bye.
Farewell.
Thank you.
Bye.